Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys all the books that I want to read for the month of September. I used to do monthly TBRs so often here on my channel, but then I stopped doing them, and it was mainly because I got into like a 6-month long reading slump. I feel like I've mentioned that a couple times in the past couple of videos over the past couple of months. I've had the biggest reading slump of my life possibly ever, but this past summer I was able to kind of work my way out of the reading slump, so I have a pretty ambitious TBR for the month of September to catch up on all the books that I'm behind on my Goodreads goal. So let's hope this actually works. Anyways, before we get into today's video, I do want to thank today's sponsor of the video, Book of the Month. Book of the Month sent me 2 books of theirs for this month to read, and I am so excited. So let me share with you guys a little bit about what Book of the Month is if you guys have no clue what it is. Book of the Month is a monthly subscription service box where they handpick curated selections just for us. The genres are always so different, so you know, you have your murder mysteries, you have your romances, you have your fiction. They have so many picks for you to choose from that you are bound to find something every single month that you like. But one of the great things about Book of the Month is, say you don't like any of the picks for that month, you can skip that month and they won't charge you, which a lot of other subscription services won't allow you to do that, but Book of the Month does. The 2 books that Book of the Month sent me for this month is The Stranger Upstairs, which is, I think, a murder mystery thriller, and I am so pumped to read this because the month of September marks the beginning of murder mysteries, thriller, and horror books for me. It just automatically sets me into the fall mood, so I am so pumped to read murder mysteries and thrillers for the whole entire month. I obviously have other books I'm going to read, but I'm mostly excited for those, so I think I might be adding this to my pile this month. The next book they sent me is You Again. I love the cover of this one. I know Book of the Month has nothing to do with the covers, but this cover is gorgeous. It's just so pretty. It's so freaking pretty. If you guys are interested in signing up with Book of the Month, you guys can sign up now and get your first book for $9.99 when you use the code CIDER at checkout. All the information is going to be linked down in the description box below, so you guys can go check them out. I highly recommend them. I've worked with them so many times, and there's a reason why I work with them so many times, because I truly love their company. So if there's something you guys are interested in checking out, please click the link in my description box below and have fun. I'm just gonna put those up there for the time being. Okay, so the first book that I want to read for the month of September is The Shadows by Alex North. I'm pretty sure this is a thriller book. I cannot wait to read this one. I've been seeing such good reviews about this one, like everywhere, especially on Instagram especially. I'm pretty sure I saw one of my friends started reading this book recently, and it kind of sparked the want for me to read it, so I am very excited to read this. It sounds so good. I got it a while ago. This is the first thriller that I want to read for this month. Probably not in this order. May I just put that out there? The order that I'm showing you guys these, I'm probably not going to read them in this order. I'm just showing you guys the list of the books that I want to read. And also another thing, like I said earlier, this is a very ambitious TBR. There's like pretty sure 20 books sitting right in front of me right now, so I may not read all of them, but it's kind of the goal, so a girl can hope, right? The next thriller that I want to read is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. I think that's how you say her name. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. This one sounded so good. I actually bought this, I think, like 2 years ago, but it's essentially about a mother who lost her daughter, and she starts dating this guy who has a daughter, and the daughter kind of looks like her long lost daughter, so then a bunch of secrets start coming out, and yeah, that's pretty much like the synopsis of it. It sounds really good. Pretty excited to read this one. One of my friends, I think, has read this book, and she said it was really good, or she's read this author and she liked the way the author rated. Okay, moving on to murder mysteries. I kind of sectioned these all off into genres based on like what it's about. Also, especially because a lot of these books I'm going to be doing like reading vlogs for, which makes me very excited for fall. The first murder mystery that I want to read for this month is The Appeal by Janice Hellett. It looked really good when I found it in the store. This looks like, it almost kind of seems like it's a book that it wants you to figure out who the murderer is, because on the cover it says 1 murderer, 15 suspects, can you uncover the truth? And the way that this book is like written out is so cool. Like there's text messages, there's interviews and like theories and stuff like that. Like, I'm sorry, that looks just so cool. I love it when books have like a different format than just like a normal regular book format. Does that make sense? I don't know. This looks so interesting. It sounds really, really good to me. Really excited and curious if I can figure out who the murderer is. Because if I can, then that just tells me I'm majoring in the right thing. So that's how I feel about that. Moving on, the next book I want to read is The Butcher and the Wren by Elena. I can never say her name right. I also said I wanted to read this book last month, but I never actually got around to it. And then I just decided like halfway through the month that I might as well as just save it for fall time so that I can read it as a murder mystery in a video. So I'm really excited to read this one. The author is also one of the co-hosts of one of my favorite true crime podcasts, Morbid. So if you guys like listening to Morbid, she has a book, and I'm also pretty sure she's writing a second book right now. So I really want to read this one. I haven't read it, obviously, so I can't tell for a fact if it's fast, but it's so small that I feel like it has to be fast. The other murder mystery that I want to read is 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. I absolutely love the way that Holly Jackson writes. I loved her whole Good Girls Guide to Murder series. Literally one of the best murder mystery series that I've ever read in my whole entire life. If you guys are really big murder mystery fans and you're looking for a good murder mystery series to read this fall, I highly recommend checking out the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. It's so good. Really, really badly want to read her 5 Survive book to see if it gives me like the same vibes as Good Girls Guide to Murder, or if it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's the way that Holly Jackson writes that I really like so much, because I enjoyed all 3 of the Girls Guide to Murder books. So I have a feeling it's just the way that she writes that I like. So I'm really, really pumped to read this one. Moving on to horror books. This is going to get probably brutal. I really, really, really badly want to find a book this fall that like genuinely scares the absolute shit out of me. So I'm really hoping that one of these does that. If it doesn't, I think I might be a little tiny upset. To start off, I want to read Stephen King's Pet Cemetery. I've already watched the movie to this, but I always feel like the movies and the books, especially for Stephen King, are always so different. I'm still trying to make my way through It by Stephen King, and I do want to finish that this year before the end of the year, but that's probably going to take me a hot second because it's so freaking massive. It's 1,153 pages long. But I loved the It movie, not the old one, the new ones. Like I said, the movies are always sometimes different, so I'm really curious to see the comparison between the movie and the book of Pet Sematary. And I also feel like it would be like a fun video idea to read the book and then compare the movie. I'm excited to read this one. It's also a lot shorter than It, so I am definitely destined to get through this way faster than It, so it's a good sign. Moving on, the next book I want to read is My Heart is a Chainsaw. I have actually never heard anything about this book, but I was in Barnes & Noble like a few months ago, I think is when I bought this book, and I looked at it on the shelf and it looked interesting. And I know what you're thinking, Melissa, we don't judge books by its cover. I do. Sorry, if the cover of the book is not captivating enough, chances are I'm probably not going to read the synopsis of it. Sue me. Sorry. Anyways, moving on. Let me just read the synopsis of this for you guys, just because I've never heard of this book, so chances are maybe you guys haven't either. You won't find a more hardcore 80s horror fan than high school senior Jade Daniels, and you won't find a place less supportive of girls who wear torn t-shirts and too much eyeliner, nestled 8,000 feet up in the mountain in Idaho, right alongside Indian Lake, home to both Camp Blood, site of a massacre 50 years ago, and, as of this summer, Terra Nova, a second home celebrity, Camelot, being carved out of the national forest. I don't know what that means, but okay. That's not the only thing that's getting carved up, though. This, Jade knows, is the start of a slasher. But what kind? Who's wearing the mask? Jade's got encyclopedia recall of every horror movie on the shelf, but will that help her survive? Can she get a final girl trained enough to stop all this from happening? Does she even want to? Isn't a slasher exactly what her hometown deserves? This sounds like borderline Hunger Games, like real life, modern real life, but preparing somebody to be the final girl? That's all I have to say, but it sounds so good and I'm really, really excited to read it. Okay, moving on. The next book I want to read is American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. This one I know is going to be brutal because everybody has told me it's going to be brutal, but I'm hoping that maybe this is the book that like scares the living shit out of me. I've also never seen the movie American Psycho, and I've been holding off to watch the movie because I want to read the book first and then watch the movie and compare the two. Like I said, would that not be a fun YouTube series to watch? Reading the book and then watching the movie and comparing the two. Hi. The next book I want to read is If We Were excuse you. The next book I want to read is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I have heard questionable things about this one. One of my friends, I think, DNF'd this, and the other one really enjoyed it. So I'm a little nervous for this one, I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of hoping I'm gonna like it. The next book I want to read for the month of September is My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. This one I saw on TikTok literally years ago, and I don't even remember why I ended up buying it, but I guess the synopsis that the woman gave me, or whoever gave me on TikTok, made me want to buy it enough. Yeah, this one, it sounds really interesting. The synopsis is, our love story is simple. I met a gorgeous woman, we fell in love, we had kids, we moved to the suburbs, we told each other our biggest dreams and our darkest secrets. And then we got bored. We look like a normal couple. We are your neighbors, the parents of your kids' friends, the acquaintances you keep meaning to get dinner with. We all have our secrets to keep a marriage alive. Ours just happens to be getting away with murder. I'm sorry, but does this not sound like the premise of the show You, Love, and Joe? Like, is this not their child in a book form? Yeah, I don't know. This sounds really interesting. It sounds very twisty and turny, and it sounds right up my alley, so I'm really excited to read this one, to be quite honest. Okay, moving on to the next genre of books that I want to read for this month. Like I said, I literally broke these up all into genres so that I can like present them to you guys in genres, just because I figured that's easiest for me, in my opinion. But moving on to the next genre, which is true crime. This might actually fuck me up just a tiny bit. The first true crime book that I want to read is Freedom, My Book of Firsts by G.C. Dugard. This is the second book in the series to My Stolen Life, I believe is what her first book is called. Essentially, G.C. Dugard, it was captured for over 20 years and was forced to have her captor's baby, and she was taken at a really young age, and then she got out when she was basically an adult, and the whole story is just so upsetting and so like frustrating, because the guy who kidnapped her was on parole at the time, and it mind boggles me how he was on parole at the time, getting like, you know, updates from the state, like getting people coming into his house, and they still like, I can't get into it. I can't get into it, or I will get really mad, because it's just what will happen. Anyways, I digress. This one is basically her life post being kidnapped, her life, you know, being on her own now, and, you know, having her life back, and basically, essentially, like she said, freedom, my book of first. Everything that she didn't get to do from literally her childhood to adulthood, she missed all of that. She didn't get to, you know, do anything that like a normal child would get to do. So I feel like this one is really gonna break my heart, because while it's normal for like everybody else to experience those stuff, she's now gonna be experiencing these book of firsts for the first time, and I know it's gonna break my heart, but it's also gonna give me hope in a way. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I feel like anybody who majors in criminal justice or is a true crime junkie, you will kind of understand what I mean by that. But I don't know, it's gonna be so sad and heartbreaking, but it's gonna be good, so I'm excited for it. A little afraid for it though. The next book I want to read is The Killjar, Obsession, Descent, and a Hunt for Detroit's Most Notorious Serial Killer. I am really excited to read this one. I have been trying to read a lot more true crime books, because I stopped reading them for a really long time, because like I said, I major in criminal justice, so I hear about cases all the time. So, you know, reading about cases for leisurely kind of puts a damper on my mood a lot. So now that I'm not taking classes currently, I feel like I can kind of wedge myself back into the true crime books and reading them. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. Kind of nervous. I feel like it sounds so wrong to be excited about reading a true crime book, but they really interest me, and I've never heard of this case before. So it's a new case that I'm not familiar with. I have no clue the details of it, so that's kind of interesting to me. Okay, we're going to take a hard left turn to the genres. I'm going to show you the 4 romance books that I want to read for this month, and I'm so pumped for them because I've heard nothing but good things about them, so I'm excited. Okay, first romance book that I want to read for this month to get me prepared for October, Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. Hockey season comes right back around in October, and I am so freaking pumped for hockey to come back. I've literally been missing it all summer, so I am going to prepare myself by reading Icebreaker, and everyone literally raves about this book. A girl that I just started becoming friends with, she just read this recently, and she said it was so good. So I'm really pumped to read this. I've heard nothing but good things about it. if I hate it, I'm actually going to bawl my eyes out, but I don't think that's the case. So yeah, I'm pumped to read this one. I also just love the cover. It's so cute. Like, I love animated covers. It's, oh, so cute. I love it. Anyways, that's the first romance book that I want to read. The next romance book I want to read is more of like a contemporary romance, but I have honestly been on a kick with her books lately. I want to read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I read my first 2 Emily Henry books this past summer. I read Beach Read and Happy Place, and I absolutely love the way that Emily Henry writes. So I figured it is time for me to read another book of hers this month, and I thought, what better book to read than Book Lovers? Sorry, that literally just came out. But yeah, I'm gonna read this one. I'm really pumped for it. I read like the first page and a half of it when I got it. Like, you know how when you get a new book and you start, you know, reading it. I was reading the prologue of it, and it sounds so good so far, and I love the way that Emily Henry writes. So I'm excited to give this one a read and see if I like it. I kind of hope I do. If I don't, it's not the biggest thing in the world, but you know, I prefer to like it. The next book I want to read is The Enemy Trap by Maren. This is also a hockey romance book, but it's kind of like a forced proximity arranged marriage, accidentally got pregnant hockey romance. So I don't know how much I'm gonna like this one, but I saw it on TikTok, and the way that it was, you know, talked about sounded really good to me, and it seems like a really short book. It's only like 250 so pages, so if I don't like it, it's really not the end of the world, but I kind of hope I do. But yeah, I figured I would throw in another hockey romance for the mix to really get me in the mood for hockey in October. So why the hell not, you know? Why the hell not? Again, haven't really heard anything about this book from anybody. I don't think I've seen anybody read it like on my pages, so that'll be a little interesting to read and give a review on. The next book I want to read is a romance book, but it's also perfect for the fall time because it is The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. I got this book from Book of the Month literally in 2021. 2021, October of 2021, and I haven't read it yet, so I figured now would be the perfect time to read it because Halloween is right around the corner, and it's a good romance book, but it's also a good, like, you know, book to get you in the mood for Halloween time and fall time. So I thought this would be the perfect book for me to read, so I'm really excited to read it. I've heard some good things about it, so I'm hoping I like it. Again, if I don't, really not the worst thing in the world, but I really hope I do. Alright, those are the romance books I want to read for this month. I have 4 more books that I want to read for the month of September, and these are fantasy books. In my opinion, when fall time comes around, fall and winter time, it is murder mysteries, fantasies, thrillers, horror books. Those are what I'm in the mood for, okay? So I am pumped to read these fantasy books that I have picked out for September because they are going to be so good. And maybe that's just wishful thinking, but I genuinely do think I'm gonna like these books because I've heard nothing but good things about them. I was very like careful in picking the fantasy books that I wanted to read for this month because I need a fantasy book that's gonna keep me interested in reading. I feel like that's the thing about fantasy books too, is like when you read a fantasy book, first you have to be in the mood to read fantasy, and then second, the book has to be a good enough fantasy book to hook you in to read all of it, if you get what I mean. But anyway, first fantasy book that I want to read for this month is This Woven Kingdom. This is also the author of the Shatter Me series. I haven't read Shatter Me yet, so I still have to read that. That's a dystopian book / fantasy book, so that's still on my list to read for this year. But I've heard nothing but good things about this other series that she has, so I'm pretty pumped to read this. It sounds so good. It's about a girl who's a servant, and but the king, like, for some reason can't get the servant girl out of her mind, so she kind of becomes the queen, I believe, or she overthrows him. I don't know, something like that. There's a prophecy. It sounds interesting. Look up the rest of the synopsis. I don't want to give too much away, even though I don't even know too much. I kind of like going into fantasy books not knowing anything because I feel like I enjoy it a lot more. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. Sometimes I will just go into a book completely blind so that I don't have like a preconceived notion about the book or the storyline. Does anybody else do that? I do it a lot. Alright, the next book that I want to read is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I saw Sarah Crowley read this and she absolutely loved it and fell in love with it. So I am trusting Sarah's recommendation and I'm going to give this book a chance. Pretty sure it's a series too, so this should keep me busy for like the rest of this year and next year even too. So yeah, I'm pumped. I'm excited. I think it has the same premise as this other one. Oh, well, okay, so the main character in this finds out that the love of her life is going to marry somebody else, so she's desperate to stop the wedding, so she strikes a deal with the prince, and she soon finds herself in, like, some dangerous game with this prince, and it's like, it's like an enemies to lovers, I think it is. So I love an enemies to lovers, so I'm kind of hoping it'll be good. The next book I want to read is Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. This is the second book in the Dance of Thieves series. I've already read the first one, and I really, really enjoyed the first one. I gave it 5 stars, and the first book literally left us off on such a massive freaking cliffhanger. So I'm really excited to jump back into the series and see what happens in the second book. I'm pretty sure it's only a duology too, so I'm very, very excited to see what happens with Jace and Cassie, the Ballingers, all of them. I'm very pumped. I'm very excited. I remember reading this book and just like, not this book, but like Dance of Thieves. I remember reading it back in, I think it was January and February. I just remember reading it and being like totally immersed in the world because it was so, so good. Okay, and moving on to our last book that I want to read for the month of September is a book that literally everybody has been raving about. I've been seeing it everywhere on my TikTok. I've had to avoid spoilers of this book because it is so big right now. The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarnos. I literally told myself I was not going to get this book because it's a $30 book and I couldn't justify buying a $30 book, but here we are, and I'm going to read it this month, and I am so freaking pumped. And I think I already know the movie I'm gonna watch to get me into the mood for reading this. I'm gonna watch Aragon, and probably I'm also gonna watch House of Dragons as well, because I just need to like watch something before reading this to get me in the mood to read about dragons and like dragon riders. So I'm really pumped. I also think I'm gonna listen to the audiobook of this while I'm actually reading it, because I've heard the audiobook is really good too. So yeah, I'm excited. I've heard nothing but good things about it. I'm also really excited to like finally be in the loop of what everybody is talking about with this book, because sometimes I need to explain myself. Sometimes when a popular book or a popular like movie or like TV show series comes out, sometimes it's so highly hyped about that I like won't read it or won't watch it until like the hype dies down. But sometimes the hype is so big and it's so talked about and it's so like raved about that I'm like, okay, I want to know what everybody's talking about. I don't want any FOMO. I want to be in the loop. So that's what I'm feeling about with this book, and I'm really, really excited to read it and give it a try because it just sounds good in my opinion. It sounds really, really good. So yeah, anyways, those are all the books I want to read for the month of September. Like I said, I know this is a really, really ambitious TBR, and it's literally like 20 books long, I'm pretty sure. So chances of me getting to all these books is really slim, but I really, really, really want to push to at least get a lot of these like murder mystery thriller books read, because I'm just so in the mood to read those kinds of books. And I also really, really badly want to give you guys good murder mystery recommendations and thriller and horror recommendations for the month of October, because that's usually when everybody else starts reading like those kinds of books. But in my brain, fall starts September 1st. Well, actually this year it actually started like midway through August, but I digress. So I really want to give you guys good murder mystery horror thriller recommendations for Halloween time, so that's why I'm reading them all a month in advance. So I'm also really curious to know the books that you guys are going to read for this fall, and also just the month of September in general. If you guys do have a set TBR that you're going to read for this month, or you know the books that you're going to read for this month, leave them down in the comment section below, because who knows, maybe you will encourage somebody else to read those books, or you'll give somebody some recommendations. Who knows? So let me know what you guys are going to read for this month and for the season of fall. I'm so curious to hear what you guys are going to read. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe down below so you guys don't miss any content from me and any reading vlogs from me, because I'm about to come out with so many freaking reading vlogs. You guys are not going to know what hit you. Anyways, I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys all in my next vlog. Bye guys. Dude, there's a fly and it's stuck in my...
I used to take myself out on dates, open my own damn doors, pay for everything on my plate. Sometimes I'd even get the steak, cause I got it like that. Always had my own bag, never needed no man to rely on. Got 2 good shoulders to cry.